Welcome to this informative and inspirational video brought to you by students at Thetford Academy in the Environmental Studies and Outdoor Education class. Along this video, you're going to learn a lot about maple syrup and how it's made, from reverse osmosis to tapping a tree. You will also see some inspirational poetry inspired by this magical changing of seasons and this historical Vermont tradition. I hope you enjoy this video. Come along for the ride.
My name is Matthew Whitney. I am the tapping specialist.
Hi, I'm Logan Wells, and I'm the product specialist.
I'm Sarah Marshy, and my specialist topic is reverse osmosis.
I'm Nina Sullivan, and I'm the maple history specialist.
I'm Lily Miller, and I'm the maple grading specialist.
My name is Stella Girdwood, and I'm the weather specialist.
I'm Connor Gain, the tree specialist.
I'm Marissa McKinney, and I am the filtering and bottling expert.
I'm Aiden Roya, and I'm the tool specialist.
My name is Tristan Berry, and I am the boiling expert.
Hi, I'm Phineas Sayers, and I'm the line specialist.
My name is Scott Ellis, and I am the Thetford Academy Outdoor Program Coordinator.
Canada is the leading producer of maple syrup in the world and makes around 70% of the world's syrup. The United States makes around the other 30%, with Vermont making 50% of that. Last year, between the two countries, there was a recorded 25.6 million gallons. The average cost of a gallon of maple syrup, which can vary between region and store, is around $50, some lowards of $30 and $40, and some upwards of $60 or $70. With a gallon of maple syrup, it can make around 7.5 pounds of maple candy or 7.5 pounds of maple cream. When making maple candy, you bring the syrup to around 32 to 35 degrees above the boil point of water, which on average is 212 degrees. So usually you're looking at around 245 degrees Fahrenheit. While you're bringing it to that boil, you want to make sure not to stir, as it can mess with the crystallization process later in the process. A lot of large companies use a method called sugar panning, which is a crystal layer of sugar over the candy, which increases its shelf life.
A reverse osmosis system, or an RO, is a machine that's used by sugar makers to reduce the boiling time of sap to syrup. So basically, this is an RO behind me, and what it does is it pressurizes raw sap and pushes it through a semi-permeable membrane. By pushing it through this membrane, it separates the water molecules from the sucrose and the minerals in the sap, so it separates the water from everything else. And you get two products from this process. One of them is permeate and one of them is concentrate. Permeate is really pure water. It's very similar to distilled water, and it's used for cleaning and that sort of thing in the sugar house. And concentrate is what goes into the pans and what's boiled, and it's sap with a higher sugar content. Our ROs, depending on the size, produce different sugar contents of sap. The bigger the RO, the more sugar content the sap has. The sap coming out of a tree is about 1 to 3% sugar, and once it comes out of our RO system, it's about 4% sugar, but it can get cycled up to about 6 if it's run through multiple times.
Maple sugaring had been practiced by many indigenous communities across North America before the arrival of Europeans, including the Abenaki people of Vermont, who have resided in the Northeast since the glaciers preceded an estimated 10,000 to 11,000 years ago, at the end of the last ice age. The Abenaki people followed a multi-step process for collecting and condensing their maple sugar sap into sweeteners, a process refined and passed down orally from one generation to the next. Abenaki women, more often than men, were heavily involved in the sugaring process, so they became the leaders of the operation. They ran the sugar bushes, made and prepared the baskets, and boiled the sap. Traditional Abenaki sugaring maple trees were tapped by cutting a diagonal notch in the bark, and then a flat spile made of cedar or slippery elm was inserted just below the bark layer. And then the sap was collected into birch bark baskets that the Abenaki women made. In order to reduce the amount of water in the sap prior to boiling, the birch bark baskets were left to freeze and the ice forming on top of the sap was discarded.
Grading maple syrup is all about determining its quality and flavor. The grading system helps consumers and sugarers choose the right syrup for their needs. In the US, there are 4 main grades. There's golden, delicate, amber, rich, dark, robust, and very dark, strong. The grading process involves examining the syrup's color, clarity, flavor, and density. A digital grader is used to examine the maple syrup's light transmission, and that darker syrup will have less light transmission and a lighter syrup will have more light transmission. Grading is important because it helps people know what type of maple syrup they're getting or what they can use it for different things for. Like a lighter syrup can be used for like table syrups, and darker stuff is normally used for like commercial baking and cooking and all of that.
So this is our evaporator. This is what we use to boil our sap. We have the RO back there, which pumps sap to our preheating pan, which warms up the sap before it goes into our main pans. Once the sap is in our main pans, it'll flow kind of in a manner like this into this pan, which will do most of the boiling in. The temperature, we usually have a temperature right here, which will keep track of the temperature, and we want the temperature to be 7 degrees hotter than the boiling point of water. When it gets close to that, we will draw off with the valve right here and into a pot, which will go to a propane stove that we can finish the boiling off with to have a more controlled finished boiling. And how we tell that's finished boiling after it's in the pot is with the hydrometer, which we tell by, we'll dip it in a metal tube into the syrup and have the hydrometer float in the syrup, and if it goes in between 2 red lines on the hydrometer, that means we know it's done. Down here we have a fire box under all the main pans where we have the fire, and there's a fan that blows into the firebox, give it enough oxygen to make sure that it stays hot.
For our tools, we have our tape measure, our DBH tape, our turkey baster, our wooden mallet, our hammer, our tap puller, our tube cutters, our pliers, wire cutters, wire twisters, wires, two-handed tool, and our connector. And our two-handed tool allows us to keep tension on the lines so that we can cut them after they're set up and connect more lines or add more taps to them. Our turkey baster allows us to clean out the tap holes after we drilled, and our 2 hammers allows us to tap into trees with different impacts. Our tape measure allows us to measure how high we tap. Our DBH tape is to see how big the tree is that we tapped, and our tap puller allows us to pull out taps easier. Our tube cutters we only ever use on tubes to keep them sharp and so that we can get a precise cut. Our pliers allows us to pull off our caps that we put on our tubes at the end of the season, and our wire cutters allows us to cut the wires that we put up with our wire twister.
You can identify sugar maples by their leaves and branches. Their leaves look similar to a hand where there are 5 main points. They also have opposite branching, which is where 2 branches come out of the parent branch at the same point. Sugar maples move sugar made from water and carbon dioxide in a form of sucrose and then stores it in starch, a form of starch. In the spring, trees need the energy to resume growth and they start turning the starch back into sugar. During this process, some of the sugar is dissolved into the sap, which is why we harvest it. Collecting sap doesn't hurt the tree, and sugar maples are quite good at covering up their wounds after the taps are out. Some different parts of the tree are the xylem, flume, outer bark, and heartwood. The xylem transports water and minerals from the roots up, the flume transports sugar and other metabolic products from the leaves down, the outer bark is used for protection and help retain moisture, fibers are the part of the xylem and they provide structural support, and heartwood is at the center of the tree and is used for support. Heartwood is made up of dead cells. Lastly, to check if a tree is healthy, look for signs like vibrant green foliage, strong branch growth, and healthy bark, free of cracks or peeling. Conversely, signs of decline include discolored leaves, dead or dying branches, and stunted growth. A good way to tell if a tree is healthy or not is to look at the crown, better known as the top. Once a tree buds, the sap is no longer able to turn into syrup.
This is a bucket for a 5/16 spout. When you're tapping like a tree like this, you need to be careful of old tap scars. This tree has been tapped before. This tap here will eventually create a tap scar that is mostly meant to be avoided because it could cause drop flow in vacuum. It decreases your vacuum. With this, it drops flow. It increases sugar content though, we have found. To avoid tap scars, you look around the tree and look for something that looks like a perfectly round hole. It might be separated depending on the age of the tree. On bigger trees, there are times when you can tap at least 2 buckets like this. This is a 2-tap tree because it is larger than most others. This tree is 2 taps because it is above 11 inches, and anything below 11 inches is in DBH is a 1-tap tree. Anything higher can be multiple taps. This the different kinds of spouts: 7/16, 5/16. 7/16 are for if you don't want a 5/16, and there are line spouts that are used for your lines, and they are all plastic. These are stainless steel. These can be cleaned.
These are our lines. These are lateral lines. These are 5/16. Some people use 3/16 lateral lines. 3/16 creates a better natural vacuum. This is our main line. This is a 1/2 inch main line. Some people use bigger, like 3/4 inch. Now all our laterals lead into the main line with this connector right here. These are our drops. Each one has a tap and a connector. So the tap goes into the tree and the connector goes into the lateral line. Now some people do have just normal drops coming out of the main line. These are naturally fed, natural gravity lines. So they all go at a downhill slope and into a barrel. Some people have vacuum lines. So they have a vacuum setup that sucks all the sap out of the lines and right to their sugar house or to a big tank.
Sugaring season usually starts around the equinox, but it's really about the temperature during the night and the day, and when it freezes and how warm it gets. Sap flows the best when it is 20 degrees at night and then 40 degrees during the day. It works by when the tree freezes, there's negative pressure in the tree and it draws up water from the roots and up the tree. It then, when it gets warmer during the day, it then creates a positive pressure throughout the tree, and the sap flows down through the tree. And sugaring season has started roughly a week earlier and ended 10 days earlier in the past 40 to 50 years.
So for filtering, we have to use 3 different filters. We use a synthetic, a wool cloth kind of one, and also cheesecloth kind of one, to make sure that we don't get any of like dirt or grime or anything in it. We're also trying to get out all the niter that's in it. Niter is a mineral that's in the sap already, and it activates while we're boiling. When we bottle it, we use many different bottles. We have to use our gloves because the bottles get hot. Once we bottle it, we cap it and we have to flip it upside down. The reason why we have to do that is so that we can, one, sanitize the cap and completely seal it so then it can sit on a shelf for a while and not crystallize or mold.
Nothing may ever compare to the ting after descent through the air, with whispers of the wind and a subtle chirp high above. A melody is found when one listens close enough. Every drop a piece of her soul, an awakening gift from a slumber of unknown. Whether a bucket or a barrel, she's taken like a toll. A gentle touch is all she requires, clear and captivating when it first begins. Each drop tells the story of the land we must endure, a hue of something new after every subtle stage, until the moment is paid off, our debt to her like a moth in a cage. Days spent in solemn solitude, long nights spent with whispers under lingering light, all for the moment when the nose softens, the waves in the air begin to change, sound gets a little sharper with every twitch, like a fairy sprinkling her dazzling dust at dawn, a delicacy mended through labor, patience, and time, a gift graciously handed down, story after story.
The syrup bubbling, the tap dripping the sap, the time flying by, steam rising into the air, it's quite blissful, to be fair.
In the chill of the early spring, maple trees begin to sing. With a quick tap, the sap flows clear, nature's sweetness is drawing near. Behind cracked and running bark, magic hides, a treasure in sugar form the tree provides. Start the smoking and crackling fire, feeding the wood, watching the flames get higher. Boiling pots transform running sap into the sweetness we desire. The golden syrup drips into rich jars, tasting of spring, a most cozy charm. From the tree to jar, to the market, to the table, the most cherished delight, sugaring is a sweet rite.
Traveling through taste, tasting the maple syrup, leaving a variety of different savory flavors. It's almost like getting a taste from the history of the sap, and the passing of the seasons rushing through my mouth, the Vermont breeze from the seasons before it, the rain, the scorching hot days, the silent nights, the absent presence of animals rushing up and down the trees. Nature's natural nurturing, sugar putting you at ease, taking in that last exhale, saying my thanks to the tree, and carrying it to the next seasons of maple trees.
Rise and fall of the temperature of the water in the trees, like the ebb and flow of the waves on a solitary beach in the heat of the summer sun. The fall of the waves leaving foam that reminds of the cold blanket of snow. Warm, refreshing, sweet-smelling air of the afternoon that whispers of the heat to come. The chill of the morning wind that speaks of the ice of the past. The cycles of the earth sustain us all, night to day, summer to winter. And as the cold winter days set, the warm days of summer rise. The dance of seasons, the sap flows. The earth begins to grow as the cycle repeats itself. With each turn, the land breathes, we breathe with it. An endless rhythm of the earth, where every end creates a new beginning, and the pulse of life flows through the trees.
The beautiful sugar maple tree. There it stands, rough on the outside but sweet on the inside, watching the sap come out of the tap in a glide. It looks no different than water, but has the potential to make unimaginable happiness. When you have sap, there's no need to pout. Just collect and boil it to watch this nobody become famous. Maple syrup. It's the star of the show, but not many people know its humble beginning. Just a tree with a hidden talent. There's so many trees in the forest, all similar until you drill into them, and that's when the sugar maple stands out. The sap is good, but it's too diluted to be anything special yet. Only about 2% of the sap is sugar, which isn't enough to make a strong taste. When it's time to boil, the sap reveals its true form. It's sticky and sweet, with a beautiful amber color. We use the hydrometer, and it's a perfect 66% sugar. It's not solid, but it's more dense than most liquids. The way the light shines through the bottles brings a sense of calm to my brain. Maple syrup.
The best feeling is when you're walking through the maple lines, ducking down, having your two-handed tool swing back and forth. As you walk, checking your line, seeing if the animals that live in the woods smelled something sweet, and chewing on your lines and sucking the sweet sap out.
Sap dripping in the bucket, water and sugar together in one, the buckets filled to the brim with sap, ready to be collected. The birds call changing to fit the season, the time seeming to slow to fit the fast pace of work. During the season of the sugar tree and the sugar steam rising from the shack to make the wind seem sweet with syrup.
Let me live in the sugar bush. Drip, dropping. The sound of sweet sucrose-soaked sap slipping from a spile. A sound that makes me smile. One of the greatest gifts of Gaia is the lifeblood of the maple tree. Listen closely. The male chickadee is changing its call. Chickadee-dee-dee, chickadee-dee-dee, turns to tweet-tweet. The sound of sweet spring is told to us through the changing patterns of nature's residents. The renewable regalia of stored sucrose from the maple is a special gift. A food source so pure that it is only one ingredient. Nothing dies. A pinprick releases the pressure push from the cambion collar. Gravity gathers the succulent golden sap. The ratio must be reduced. 40 gallons of sap to 1 gallon of syrup. Fires burn to release copious steams through cupolas. 216 degrees. 217 degrees. 218 degrees, and finally, 219 degrees. The magic moment sugar crystals collide to create the valued viscosity. If you so desire, bring the temperature even higher. Sweet treats of candy, taffy, and butter you can acquire. I am grateful for the glorious golden gifts of Mother Gaia. Let me live in the sugar bush and listen to the sound of sweet sucrose-soaked sap slipping from a spile, a sound that makes me smile.
Maple is my home. It is the indescribable first fresh taste of the year. My home is the sugar house, the countless hours with family and friends time flies. Maple is my home. Food drenched in sticky sweetness, raised donuts made by grandmother's loving hands. Donuts made for those who want a teeny taste of what came from the pans. Maple is my home, hours spent in the woods, the crunching of snow, the whirring drill, and the tap-tap from a hammer. Maple is my home, bluebird days spent collecting sap on the tractor and racing to load the wood cart. Maple is my home, the rich liquid gold running through my veins like blood to my heart. Maple is my home, eyes locked on iridescent golden bubbles, minds lost within the pans, thoughts melting away like sugar on snow in my hands. Maple is my home from tapping to tasting, from the first fresh smell of spring, time is a wasting. Maple is my home through and through, and Libby Land holds my heart strong and true.
Nature's creation. In the morning air, the trees start to unfreeze, the sap starting to flow. The tree's natural glucose runs through the lines as fast as the night critters running from the sun popping up from the mountain. As afternoon comes, people collect nature's beautiful creation of the tree's inner water. The people take the sap and boil it to syrup. The syrup, sweet like a lollipop. The syrup then put onto morning pancakes and eaten. That's nature's creation.
Weather's starting to warm up, snow's starting to melt. Trees might start to run, gotta get out there fast. Grab the tap line, buckets, gotta grab the drill. Go grab the taps, the four-wheeler's starting to warm up. Put everything on the back and jump on. Start with the buckets. Drill the hole, lightly tap the spile in. Drip, drip, drip. The sap is already running. Make sure the pipeline is tight, but not too tight that it might stretch. Grab the throw line, drill another hole, tap the spout till the sound changes. Sap already flowing through, make sure the barrels are ready. Over 150 gallons of sap waiting for you to go and collect. Gotta start up the fire while I collect the sap. Snap, crackle, and pop the fire, and at the right temperature. Run the RO, filtered sap running through the pan. The smell of sap being boiled smells so good. Finally, filter in bottles ready. Time to draw off. Gotta get the filter through not one, not two, but 3 filters. Gotta make sure that all the nasties come out. Get ready to taste test. Let it cool down enough where your mouth won't burn. The taste is so rich. All of that hard work paid off. But not quite done yet. All the late nights and early mornings have come to this. Finally, get the syrup to the perfect temperature to bottle, 180 or 190 degrees Fahrenheit. Glass bottles making clicking sounds while you grab them. Fill the bottle to the perfect height. Cap and flip the bottle. Gotta seal the cap right so it can last forever. Finally done for a while. Can't wait till next year to start the process again.
Yes, go. You're leaning backwards. You're leaning. You gotta hit like a little. Ow!
Recommended. Boom!